This land is your land, this land is my land, from California to the New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. As I was walking that criminal highway, I saw above me that endless skyway. I saw below me that golden valley. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land, from California to New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. This land was made for you and me.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the City of Moreno Valley's 2017 Veterans Day Ceremony. I'm Dr. XDN Gutierrez, proud mayor of this great city of Moreno Valley. Let's give a round of applause to our master chorale. They did such an amazing job today. You know, my favorite president in his inaugural address on January 20th, 1961, John F. Kennedy presented the American public with a blueprint upon which future foreign policy initiatives of his administration would later follow and come to represent. He once said, "Let every nation know, whether it wishes us well or ill, that we shall pay any price, bear any burden, meet any hardship, support any friend, oppose any foe, to assure the survival and success of liberty." Today, we gather to express our deep gratitude to the men and women who have served to protect the liberty that we hold dear in the United States of America. You see, those words hold true today as they were then. We can never fully repay our debt of gratitude, and we know that, to the American service members who died in battle or who have been wounded. We can, however, recognize and thank the veterans living today. It is our privilege to say thank you to all of America's veterans, to let them know that we appreciate them for their service and honor them for their sacrifices. The price of freedom is high. We cannot afford to forget those willing to pay it. So today, we celebrate America's veterans for paying the price and bearing the burden. We celebrate America's veterans for meeting hardships and supporting our allies. And we celebrate America's veterans for opposing our enemies. As we begin our program this morning, please stand for the invocation led by Lieutenant David Kane from the Moreno Valley Salvation Army. Please remain standing for the presentation of colors by Rancho Verde High School, AFJ-ROTC. The national anthem performed by Senior Airman Renee McKinney, a member of the Blue Eagles Total Force Honor Guard. And please continue to stand out of respect for our country for the Pledge of Allegiance, as it will be led by Albert Rivera, Outreach Director for U.S. Vets, Inland Empire. Lieutenant Kane, go ahead. Thank you. How you doing? Good to see you.
What a privilege it is to be here today. Let's pause for a moment in prayer. Please bow with me. Father, we pause just for a moment now to reflect on the freedoms that we've been offered at the sacrifice of so many. Lord, we take this day as a celebration to say thank you for so many who gave so much for us so that we could receive and enjoy the liberties that we have today. And we can't deny the fact that their great sacrifice mirrors your great love for us. And so we ask that in every moment of mourning and celebration today, that you would be in it. Lord, could we speak excitement, and also could we reflect on the many lives that were sacrificed so that we could enjoy the liberties that we have today? We thank you for this. We pray that you would be in every piece of this celebration. We pray it in your precious name. Amen.
Can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
This is probably better.
Good morning, everyone. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty, justice for all.
Thank you all for a meaningful beginning to today's program. You may be seated. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to recognize my colleagues on the City Council. Will you please stand and remain standing until I call all of your names? Mayor Pro Tem Victoria Baca, Councilmember Gaiba, and thank you for your service, Councilmember. Councilmember Marquez, thank you for your service as well. And Councilmember Cabrera. Okay, thank you. We are all so fortunate to have several community leaders and special guests here with us today. If I don't call your name, please stand. Any of the elected officials, I believe we have Senator Richard Roth here. You could please stand and be recognized. We have County Supervisor Marion Ashley. School Board Member Jesus Holguin. Is he here? No? Okay. All right. If any other electeds, please stand to be recognized. Okay. Seeing none? Okay. All right. So I would like to recognize our true VIPs this morning. As I ask you to stand, please remain standing. Will our military veterans please stand? Military veterans? Will our active duty and reservists please stand? Also stand. And finally, will family members of veterans, active duty, and reserve personnel please stand? Any family member? Thank you. Thank you. We are honored to have you all here today. From the bottom of our hearts, thank you so much for your service and your sacrifice, and to the family members for your support. And finally, will everyone please stand and remain silent for a moment to honor those who have passed away or who were killed in the line of duty. Let's take a moment of silence. Thank you. You may be seated. We now move on to the section in our program about our paver/banner program, a recognition tool that we use in our city. I hope you've noticed the military banners surrounding the memorial and those along Alessandro, Frederick, and Cactus. But what about the pavers surrounding the Veterans Memorial behind me? I hope you've noticed them as well. They are the embodiment of a community proud of its military servicemen and women. You see, in 2010, the City Council proudly established the Military Appreciation Banner and paver programs. With the support of the Moreno Valley Chamber of Commerce, Military Affairs Committee, the program is growing as families choose to recognize their sons and daughters, mothers and fathers, sisters and brothers. Today, we recognize the following members of the U.S. Navy and U.S. Coast Guard who are being honored by their families with a new banner in their name. Let's congratulate Dewey Dean Stafford from U.S. Army, Nicholas Victor Samano, the U.S. Coast Guard. Would those patriots and their families also stand to be recognized? And now let's turn our attention to a source of pride in our community, our young kids. In Moreno Valley, the community is far richer, as we all know, when children are provided opportunities of enrichment, opportunities to express themselves, and opportunities to participate in the arts. Moreno Valley Unified School District has a renewed focus on developing performing visual arts programs. We are benefiting from that today. The Butterfield Elementary School Choir will sing 2 songs for us today. 3 cheers for the red, white, and blue, and their own version of Rock This Town. Let's give them an applause.
Rock this town, I carry every day. Every day, rock this Three cheers for the red, white, and blue. Three cheers for the red, white, and blue. The flag of America forever. Three cheers for the red, white, and blue. Three cheers for the red, white, and blue. Three cheers for the red, white, and blue. The flag of America forever. Three cheers for the red, white, and blue.
Wow, what an amazing job that they did this morning. Let's give them another round of applause. This morning, before we introduce our featured speaker and our Heroes for Heroes, we have with us, and if I could have Mayor Pro Tem Baca, please join me at the mic. We have with us retired Frank Wright from the U.S. Navy. He served a long time, actually 40 years in the U.S. Navy, and he's been a Moreno Valley resident for 35 years. He's prepared some talking points in regards to the military history. So if you could please, all right, Frank.
Good morning, everyone. Yeah. Pleasant to be here. It's really great to see all of you. This really enhances the day, believe me. I was in Korea and helping I was on a USS Los Angeles, a heavy cruiser, helping the Marines, guiding our shells over there. And then I helped the restoring the Japanese restoration. And then we cruised all over the Pacific ready for any type of other action, but maintaining a peace. So I'd like to give you a brief history of Veterans Day, if I can. On July 20th, 1919, was the day that officially ended the Great War of World War I. Veterans Day was a one day set aside to thank and honor all those who served honorably in the military in war and peace. The fighting stopped during World War I on November 11th, 1918, to an armistice between Germany and the Allies, commemorating as Armistice Day by President Woodrow Wilson in 1919. A resolution was passed by Congress in 1926, called for November 11th to be remembered each year with the thanks and prayer and exercise designated to the peace and mutual understanding. In 1938, armistice was officially made a legal holiday. Many American soldiers lost their lives during World War II and Korea War. In the wake of these wars, Armistice Day was remained Veterans Day in 1954. In 1968, a bill was passed which called for Veterans Day to be observed on the fourth Monday of October, starting in 1971. In 1975, President Gerald Ford signed, which pushed VA Day back to November 11th, which change had taken place in 1978. The actual surrender of World War I was the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month in 1918. Christmas, there was an event that happened in World War I, very phenomenal, but on Christmas, I think it was 1917, both sides, the Allies and the Germans, stopped firing. They got up and went to the no man's land area and recognized and honored each other. A commemorative event. And then they sang songs and so on. It's like a brotherly event because there was relatives on both sides in those days. That happened probably about a half an hour. Then they turned around, picked up their arms, went back to their trenches, and later resumed firing again. That actually happened. Each country has their own memorial ways in representing the wars. In Australia, there's a memorial that's very fantastic. There's a walkway about 40 feet high, goes up around maybe 100 feet into a big, huge building. It's like a pyramid, a dome, like our Washington. And inside you go, there's a big circular room with a reef on the bottom. In the center of the reef, there's a plat. On the top was about 40 foot high, was an orifice about so big. It's designed somewhat like the pyramids in Egypt. You could tell the sign of the days, months, years, and so on. But as the sun approaches over that orifice, it shines down on that plate on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month every year. And that's the only time it happens. And that's a fact. Really something. See, Memorial Day is designed for those soldiers, airmen, and airmen sailors who died in action and not able to come back to their home. In World War I, we lost 116,000 men. In World War II, we lost about 550,000 men. Korea and Vietnam, we lost 115,000. In World War III, if to happen, a catastrophe, may God forbid. So I want to thank you for commending and honoring the veterans, and for your presence is symbolic for the presence of this honorable day. So thank you, and God bless you all.
Let me say something. Don't leave yet. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give another round of applause to our Moreno Valley's very own Frank Wright. Thank you. And on behalf of the City Council and the City of Moreno Valley, I'd like to thank Frank Wright for coming to our City Council meetings and leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance, even when he's not feeling well. Thank you, Frank.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll walk you down.
Good job, Frank. Good job. Thank you so much to Frank for this morning. I'm proud to partner with the Chamber of Commerce Military Affairs Committee in recognizing an outstanding individual for their work on behalf of veterans and military personnel. In fact, the award is called the Heroes for Heroes Award. The Heroes for Heroes Award recognition program was designed to encourage and recognize volunteerism and goodwill displayed for the benefit of our veterans, active duty, and reserve servicemen and women. Because this is a partnership with the Moreno Valley Chamber of Commerce Military Affairs Committee, I'd like to ask Co-Chair Tanya Price and also President Oscar Valdepena to please join me at the podium. And now I am pleased to present the 2017 Heroes for Heroes Award to, drum roll please. It is Bud Lupino, owner of Bud's Tires Pros, a business that has been serving residents. Mr. Lupino, as a veteran himself, having served in the U.S. Air Force for 8 years, Lupino also continues to serve the veterans of our community, the reserve and active duty, for over 20 years. Bud actively supports the Independence Fund wheelchair program, helping severely wounded veterans gain mobility that they lost. To date, more than 1,700 all-terrain wheelchairs have been donated to wounded veterans. In an effort to help ensure their safety at home, through his company, Bud's Tire Pros, Bud provides significant discounts for auto care service and tires to the military community. And finally, he actively supports other organizations that support our military veterans, including the Habitat for Humanity. Bud's generosity and activity goes beyond what he does for the military community. He is a great support to students and needy families in our community as well. On behalf of the Moreno Valley community, the city, we are so grateful for your desire to continue serving. Thank you for being a hero for heroes. Oscar? Oh. Okay. I would like to ask Oscar Valdepena, President of the Chamber of Commerce, to say a few words on behalf of the Military Affairs Committee.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, veterans, active, reservists, for everything that you do that serve our community. Being part of the chamber, I could tell you right now that a majority of our members, the business owners, the ones that are involved, are veterans. They're active, they're reservists, and they give back. They don't just serve our country, but they serve our communities, and they serve for other families, and they do whatever they can to assist. I've known Bud for quite a few years, and it's never ending what he wants to do, not just for the community, but for our veterans. So when the applications came in and the committee looked at it, and all of the things that we knew and that they added, we knew that Mr. Lupino from Bud's Tire Pros was the greatest choice for this year. So on behalf of the Moreno Valley Chamber of Commerce, and I know Tanya Price from Military Affairs Committees, who very actively serves to help with our veterans, we thank you for your service, and we're honored to present you with the award today, sir.
Thank you, Oscar. So now I will present the certificate of recognition to Mr. Lupino in your honor, as well as this gift. We have right here. It's a gift of medallions for each branch of service. And here's a certificate of recognition on behalf of the city and the Moreno Valley Chamber of Commerce for your work and your service in the community. Thank you so much, Mr. Lupino. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Very nice.
Thank you. Mr. Lupino, would you like to say a few words?
Sure, just a second. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and everyone who's here today, my family as well, and especially all of our veterans and brothers. I can't tell you how important this is to me. We went through some really difficult times. I can tell you, when I was stationed here at March Air Force Base, we couldn't wear our uniform home at night after work because of the way we were looked at back in the 1970s, and we've come a long way. And I want to thank you, everyone, for taking a very huge interest in respecting the veterans, and especially I want to shout out to the Moreno Valley Elks. Appreciate your contribution to the Allies for Independence Fund. It's a very important product. We do have the track mobility chairs that we've given to wounded veterans. This year we've given out 17. These are individually manufactured wheelchairs that allows people they can go fishing, they can do anything they want, and they cost about $20,000 a piece. So we're really happy to be able to be part of that, and I want to thank everybody in Moreno Valley. This is a home. This isn't a place where you live. This is a wonderful place. And thank you, everyone, for coming today.
Thank you. Congratulations, Mike. And then we're going to get a picture.
Not big enough?
That's good.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks again, Bud, for your inspiration to us all and all of your hard work in our community. Let's give him a round of applause. And now we move towards our keynote speaker. I am humbled today to introduce today's keynote speaker. It is truly an honor to have Colonel Earl T. Williams, a retired Air Force colonel and World War II veteran, here with us today to share his story. Having survived the attack on Pearl Harbor, December 7, 1941, Colonel Williams at that time was only 22 years old, an assistant crew chief, and he actually sustained a wound to the head during the attack's first moments in the firefight. Because of the chaos and the need for patched-up airmen to return to the fight, the hospital at Hickam Field kept few records. Colonel Williams currently is working with our members of Congress to be awarded the Purple Heart that he deserved. During his years in service to the nation, he was stationed actually right here at March Air Reserve Base, although at that time it was called March Field. He liked it so much that he chose to retire in this area. This 98-year-old hero and 98 years old young, I'll say, served the military of the United States of America for 29 years and has been a local resident for more than 45 years. Ladies and gentlemen, sir, it is my honor to welcome you to the podium.
Well, we certainly have a beautiful day today, and I'm so thankful that we have so many people here participating in this tribute to the veterans of the United States Armed Forces. The paying tribute to the veterans for protecting our freedoms as we enjoy each and every day, and to secure the security of our great nation. We always should remember also those who have paid the ultimate sacrifice in past wars, because they too are veterans. And also all the military people serving here in the United States and in locations around the world, many of them in very hostile areas. They too will become veterans someday. And today we remember this day, that it's the result of the armistice that was created between the Germans and the Allies in 1918. And at that time, that marked the day that we observed the 11th of November as Armistice Day. Remember, it's the 11th month, the 11th day, and the 11th hour that we pay tribute to those who have served in the armed forces. I entered the service in 1939. I was from a little old town in eastern Ohio that was hard hit by the Great Depression. My folks had to give up their business, and after I graduated from high school, I was very fortunate to be able to get a full-time job, which was really difficult in those days. But I knew that opportunities in that small town were limited, and when I got an invitation from the U.S. Army Air Corps to be trained as an aircraft mechanic if I enlisted. And I took that opportunity and did so on the 23rd of September 1939. And the Armed Forces held their promise and sent me to training as an aircraft mechanic. After I finished that training, they put me on a train, sent me here to California. I got off the train at the Santa Fe station here in Riverside in April 1940. And they sent me to March. I was assigned to the 38th Reconnaissance Squadron, which at that time was just forming. And they had a conglomeration of different types of aircraft. And so I applied my training to those, but later on we received B-17s, and that enhanced my training for that type aircraft. And the 38th Reconnaissance Squadron was later moved to Albuquerque, New Mexico, where I became an assistant crew chief to a B-17. And we were at that time given orders to install armor plating on our B-17s, and that indicated that the winds of war were still very prominent at that time. So anyhow, it's very significant that that armor plate was installed, because later on I'll tell you what the significance of it was. Well, we received our orders to proceed to the Philippine Islands to augment the forces there. And we left Albuquerque and went into Hamilton Field on the night of December the 6th. And from there we've made a 14-hour noisy and cold flight to the Hawaiian Islands on the first leg of our journey to the Philippine Islands. As daylight started to break, we noted the fantastic view of Diamond Head, and we had been transporting a flight surgeon by the name of Lieutenant William R. Schick, who was being transported with us to the Philippines to became part of the force there. And he turned to me to see the Diamond Head, and he says, "You know, I wouldn't take $1 million for this flight." And so he took his little camera out and took a picture of that. And I went back from the cockpit to the radio compartment to look out the side window of the aircraft as we saw the Waikiki beach, the Royal Hawaiian Hotel, and all that thing in our landing pattern. And pretty soon there were 3 fighter planes that passed in the opposite direction under our right wing. And I said, "What were those?" And the radio operator, who had ferried some aircraft to the Hawaiian Islands in May of 1941, said, "Those are Navy planes. They were here to escort us in." I said, "Well, okay." But anyhow, all of a sudden, the plastic canopy that held over the twin 50 caliber guns in the radio compartment disintegrated. And I thought, what was that? And I stood up and I looked back. I could see the pilot of the fighter plane, and still they were shooting all sorts of stuff at us. And the soundproofing in the radio compartment was the cotton fiber, the fabric, floating around in the radio compartment like snowflakes. And I knew that the armor plate on the back of the radio compartment was a safe place. I thought, my gosh, they've loaded live ammunition in those guns. So we got to tell the pilot something's going on here. So, but incidentally, they hit the pyrotechnic flares that we were carrying in the radio compartment at that time, and the whole radio compartment burst into a fiery ball. And I went through the bomb bay to the pilot to tell him what was happening. The radio operator and the assistant radio operator went through the back of the airplane. And the pilot was aware of what was going on, and he was making an attempt to get the airplane on the ground as quickly as possible. Now, the armor plate that we had installed back of the pallet and the co-pilot was very thick, and the Japanese were strafing us and ricocheting off the back of those armor plates. Had it been not been for those armor plates on the back of the pilot and the co-pilot, well, certainly the pilot and the co-pilot would have been probably injured seriously or killed, and we would have never have gotten that airplane on the ground. But fortunately, the pilot was able to get it on the runway, and as we were going down the runway, the airplane broke in half just after the wing where the fire in the radio compartment had been held. So anyhow, as the airplane stopped, the flight surgeon was wounded because of the firing and the ricochet, and I noticed that he had blood all over him. But he asked me, he says, "Well, how do you get out of this airplane?" I told him, I says, "Well, there are two ways. You can go out the upper escape hatch, or you can go down to the entrance door." He says he's going down to the entrance door. So I says, "Well, I'll follow." So he went out, I followed, and instead of staying with the airplane, which I thought because the enemy was still strafing us, I thought that would be a nice thick place to keep that from happening. But he ran towards the hangar line, and he was struck by ricochet bullets and killed. And so anyhow, I was hit in the head, and 5 other members of the crews were wounded. And after I returned from the hospital, they decided to make me a member of the combat crew. I was just an aircraft mechanic accompanying the aircraft to the Philippines, but they made me, after 4 hours of training on the 50 caliber machine gun, they made me a combat crew member, and from there I proceeded to go down the Allen chain to northern Australia, and in the ensuing year I flew 55 reconnaissance and combat missions in that year. Upon my return to the States a year later, I received a direct commission, and from there on I served out my 30 years of military service, and I had great assignments, and the military service provided me with much that I've retained all my life. And in closing, I would just like to God bless the veterans of the United States Armed Forces for their preservation of our freedom, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you very much.
Wow, what a compelling account of your service, Colonel Williams. Thank you, sir, for sharing your story with us this morning. Those of us who have never encountered the chaos of war can only imagine the depths of its impact. We are deeply grateful for your service and honored to share this time together. One more round of applause for World War II veteran and retired Colonel T. Williams. We've got a final performance for you this morning, and we're going to need your help. The Moreno Valley Master Chorale will lead us in singing the Armed Forces Medley. We have included the lyrics on the program in hopes that you will sing along with us. And for all those current and former U.S. military personnel, when you hear the part of the song representing your branch of service, please stand and join us. I'm counting on you. Now let's have a little fun.
Our song may not be in the exact order, but Army's first.
Over hill, over dale, we have hit the dusty trail, and those caissons go rolling along. In and out, hear them shout, hunting, marching all about, and those caissons go rolling along. Chorus high, high, he in the field of artillery. Count up your numbers loud and strong. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. And wherever you go, you will always know that those caissons go rolling along. Anchors away, my boys, anchors away. Farewell to college joy, we sail at break of day, 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 throughout our starlight shore, trail to the foe, until we meet once more. Here's wishing you a happy voyage home. We're all ready for the call. We place our trust in thee, through hound and gale and shot and shell, to win our victory. Semper Paratus as our guide, our pledge, our motto too. We're always ready, do or die. Aye, Coast Guard, we fight for you. If we go into the wild blue yonder, climbing high into the sun, here we come, zooming to meet our thunder, attaboy, giving the gun. Down we dive, spouting a flame from under, off with our terrible roar. We live in flame, we'll go down in flame, for nothing can stop the U.S. Air Force. From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, we will fight our country's battles in the air and land and sea. First we fight for right and freedom, and to keep our honor clean. We are proud to claim the title of United States Marines.
Thank you to our Master Chorale. I also want to add an important detail to Colonel Williams' account. He was actually the first U.S. piloted plane shot down in World War II. Yeah, interesting, yeah. What a wonderful conclusion to the 2017 Veterans Day ceremony. I would like to thank the fire explorers who helped with today's event. You are all a shining example to your peers and to everyone here. I would also like to thank the staff with the organization of the event. Thank you so much. On behalf of the city, we are sincerely grateful for all who have served. This concludes the City of Moreno Valley's Veteran Days ceremony. Colonel Williams has graciously agreed to make himself available to anyone who would like to visit with him after we conclude. As you leave today, make sure that you thank a veteran and pick up a toy soldier from the welcome table over there. This toy soldier will remind you to recognize and honor our veterans each and every day. I also hope that you will enjoy a cup of coffee with us and view the artwork on display that was created by our local students in the city of Moreno Valley to honor our veterans. Ladies and gentlemen, may God continue to bless all veterans, our great nation, and our great, beautiful city of Moreno Valley. Thank you.